and you intermingle all your bases with Unit B, and they can't get within 1 inch of Unit B. And you've just made an illegal charge, and so they stay put.
Oh, that is awful.
Isn't that horrible? It's horrible. Like
that is an awful tactic. If you ever do that to me, I will punish you. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Hyperspace Hobbies. This is Space Marine Steve. This is Bulba Steve, and I am Ian. Today, we are here to talk about Phobos units.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
With a focus on the better ones, because there are quite a few that are underused for a reason, but some are underused that might actually sneak you out a win. But before you get that win, please like and subscribe.
Yes, and make sure to go down into the comments section and start talking about Phobos Marines. I'm going to be down there talking a little bit. You're going to be up down there talking a little bit. And I think we can extend the conversation, but with your help. Kind of like with the exception of Eliminators or maybe like the War Suit and stuff like that. But even those examples, across the board, their damage output is fairly low.
Their damage output is low, and you usually want to take them in small squad sizes, which means their durability is also fairly low.
It's low.
With the exception of many of them having smoke, which you can pop smoke, which is
very cool.
A way to boost their durability.
Yep.
Other than that, you're not taking 10-man squads of almost any of these guys.
Probably not. That's not what they're for, though.
No.
Right? Like, I find that when people start evaluating units in 40K, they look at the unit, they look at, its weapons and its output, how much damage that it does, and they start saying to themselves, like, okay, like, these are great, this does so much damage. But sometimes the real, like, magic in a unit is kind of hidden in how you use it more than what is actually written inside the data sheet.
And I'm surprised by some of the Phobos units because their abilities to help the entire army do damage are actually really good.
It is really good.
Things like bonuses to hit or abilities to reroll ones to wound are all fantastic abilities that you can just slot into essentially any list. The efficiency of your army goes up. Right. So let's talk about the number one, the best unit. In my opinion, and I think everyone's going to agree, it's Infiltrators.
And they're great for a defensive rule, right?
Yes. Well, we know that the damage output is low in both shooting and combat. They can slot into almost any list and do something that is sort of a rarity in the game, and that's assist in a big screening bubble.
Totally, because they have something called Omni Scramblers, and what they do is they project this 12-inch bubble where nobody can set up any models from reserves. What's great about this like huge bubble is that it really applies to like anything. So like when strats say that, oh yeah, you can set this model up within 6 inches from reserves, like that demon strat. Nope, this shuts it down. And this supersedes any of that stuff. So this like special scrambler that they have is like the best kind of ancient tech, right?
Yeah.
Because it really protects like your entire backline. Huddle in a piece of terrain and just project this giant bubble like right around your core objective. Totally fine. They can protect your backfield all day long, right? If you want to push forward too, like.
And they also have the added ability to infiltrate. So not only if you're on one of these angled kind of deployment zones and one of the objectives is in the middle, you can put one guarding your home objective and another one guarding that other objective and know that you're essentially deep strike safe from charges for those two units.
They've got the smoke keyword.
Yep.
Right? They also have a 6-up feel no pain if you take the Helix Gauntlet. And they also have magic radios. I don't remember what it's actually called, but that's fine. They have a magic radio that effectively says if you ever target that win the strat, on a 5-up, you get that CP back.
Yes, which is a good kind of way to go.
Yeah.
Is it worth it to pop smoke on these guys?
Sometimes. It depends.
It could be. If 33% of the time I get that CP back anyways. It might be more inclined to do it knowing that you have the potential of getting your CP back.
It's not something you do every single time without question, but they have that tool in the toolbox, and it makes them like weirdly durable and weirdly awesome. So they're probably at the top of the pile for like Phobos units with attitude, but there's lots of other ones.
Well, the Phobos Librarian, who can be added to that unit,
oh yeah,
essentially makes them untargetable unless you are within 12 inches. This comboed with not being able to be deep struck around 12 inches means for at least one turn after somebody deep strikes, they're completely safe from getting shot
Yep.
and charged. It's a huge investment for something that is not going to be doing a ton of damage.
Yeah.
But will it ever just rock board control?
Oh, yeah.
You can't kill them immediately. Your opponent will have to invest at least a turn ahead to try to deal with a unit like that.
The scoreboard doesn't track damage dealt. The reason the damage is so important in the game is because it removes your opponent's ability to score points. But if your unit is so durable or / untargetable, you cannot remove its ability to score points, and that's what really matters, right? So the scoreboard is the only thing that matters in 40K. The only thing.
Another standalone model that almost fits into any list that you could ever do is just a lieutenant in Phobos armor with a combi-weapon.
Yeah, that's the new Leviathan box guy.
He does something pretty interesting. You can mark an objective, and anything that is on that objective, your entire army gets rerolls 1s to wound versus that target.
It's so
He doesn't
good.
have to be in line of sight of it. He doesn't need to be near any of the things that are shooting that particular unit. He just has to mark it, and then he can go on and do his own thing. And he's not bad at doing his own thing.
But as long as he's alive.
He's lone op. He's got a lot of decent durability.
So good.
With a 5-up, feel no pain. His problem is that he's only throwing damage 1. If he was doing damage 2, I might be a little bit more inclined to throw him into every list. But if you're looking for a 70-point insert that can take up a little bit of board space, be difficult to target with lone op, and boost your entire army's damage output, you can just go, I'm going to mark the center objective.
Yeah.
My whole army rerolls 1s versus anything that is in contact with that objective.
It's phenomenal.
You just got to be really careful on things like Scorched Earth, where your opponent could potentially burn that objective, because they might just want to get rid of it right out of the gate. Something to think about. But
so
still, it's
specific.
He's not bad to just go, I've got 70 points. What do I add for 70 points? It's going to boost my entire army's damage output.
Yeah.
It's pretty rare when you get something like that.
He's a phenomenal choice to babysit back objectives, right? Be that like layer of holding an objective, like kind of in your backfield or on your side of the table, where you've got a unit and then you've got him, and then they can clear out the unit, but he's a lone op, and so they can't shoot him. And suddenly they're like, crap, like I killed the unit. But it ultimately didn't do anything because he's still standing there.
Yeah, just standing and waving, going,
hi guys, can't shoot me. And he's still buffing the army kind of overall. All of the Phobos stuff is they don't win the game for you. They help your army win the game. But they work in concert so well with the rest of your army that they help you do it. For example, one of my favorites are the Incursors.
Yeah.
So next thing on our list, Incursors, I never see them in lists, and I feel like I actually need to start putting them in more lists, because for 80 points, they scout move, which is great, right? Which means that they can go inside an impulsor, and then the impulsor will scout.
Right.
Phenomenal.
Dedicated transport.
Dedicated transport, impulsor scout. Their ability is if they shoot a unit, you basically select one unit that was shot by that unit this turn, and then your whole army gets +1 to hit on that unit. They can work in concert really well with like land raiders or repulsors that have lots and lots of guns, but kind of need that extra help making sure that they all connect.
Right.
They can also help you almost kind of get like a little double oath. If you oath one thing and then shoot something else, you're re-rolling all hits to one and you're hitting on 2s to the other.
For the most stuff hitting on 2s.
For most things hitting on 2s, right?
That's not too bad. They also come with the haywire mine or grenade.
So it basically, you have to be within it's once per game, you have to be within 3 inches of an enemy unit. And then on a 2-up, you do D3 mortal wounds.
Okay.
But if it's a vehicle that you're hitting, it's 2D3 mortal wounds. And it actually works really well in concert. Like, so let's say you do put them in an impulsor and the thing scouts up 6 inches, or it advances and then the guys get out because that's something it can do.
Yep.
They're within 3 inches of a vehicle, and then they plop the grenade strat, 66 on 4-ups mortals.
Yeah.
And then they pop the haywire grenades and do 2D3 mortals.
Yeah, they actually have a decent way of punching up pretty much only with vehicles. It doesn't state monsters.
No, it's vehicles only. You just did probably like 7 or 8 mortals to that thing.
Yeah.
And if you're really lucky, more. But 7, 8 mortals, That's more damage than this unit has any business doing to a big vehicle.
And then shooting it, and then whatever guns you have get an additional bonus to hit. So it does actually seem all right. There's still probably better choices as a whole, but if we're forced to take a Phobos unit, these guys are actually kind of interesting.
It's not game winning.
No.
But it's very disruptive.
Yeah.
Right? Very disruptive. So I like it a lot.
I feel like the Incursors might just be a better thing than Reavers. Reavers are trying to mess with people's leadership. It's not really something that Space Marines do well or need to do to benefit in any way.
Yeah.
So I think almost Incursors over Reavers, if anything.
You're not doing any damage with the guns, but what you did just do to the Vindicator behind you is you just amped up its firepower like crazy.
Yeah.
It's also a great way to like, oh, you're -1 to hit? No, you're not. And you like don't even have to wound them. All you have to do is hit with one of the guns.
And you're for sure hitting because there's so many of them shooting.
Exactly, right? Eliminators, strong both with the sniper rifle and with the las fusils.
I do like the sniper rifle inclusion, especially now because a lot of the Eliminator inclusion. Because there's so many characters out there that are low wounds.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that an Orc Pain Boy is 3 wounds. If you can headshot an Orc Pain Boy...
Yeah.
And you don't have to worry about that guy anymore. It is a huge bonus.
Yeah.
You don't have to chew through an additional 20 wounds of feel no pain.
Right. I know Blood Angels are actually really popular right now. There's always going to be at least one turn where, depending on the terrain layout, the Blood Angels player jumps out and they're kind of out in the open for a second before they connect, right? That's the turn where you're like, I have my 2 squads of Eliminators, snipe your Chaplain out, and suddenly all of your Death Company go to OC 0. They can't back out anymore. Right. They don't get +1 to wound. He's got toughness 4. He's got a 4 up save, and he's only got 4 wounds.
Right, so only 2 shots need to go through.
The Tactical War Suit has got Phobos keyword as well.
Right.
Yeah. And so it works in concert with them actually pretty well. And it actually has an ability that's like, if you shoot one of my Phobos buddies, I get to shoot, it gets to like shoot you too. Right?
Oh, it's sort of like the ATV.
If they're shooting at your units and it's nearby, it can just take its shots and just get extra shooting phases out of it, which is phenomenal, especially like one of them's a big flamer. Right? Which is hilarious, right? So, and there's no downside. There's no like, oh, with -1 to hit or it has to overwatch or whatever. It's just, I get to shoot you.
Just straight shots.
Straight shots. So,
and it's got a decent combat profile as well.
Yeah, it's really strong, does a bunch of damage. It's got an 8-inch scout move. Right, so you can put it on the line and then 8-inch move directly behind a big piece of terrain with it. Move out, start shooting, assaulting things. It doesn't infiltrate like it used to, but that's okay. With an 8-inch scout move, you're almost at the center of the board, anyways.
Right. Yeah. What about the Captain in Phobos armor?
See, I love him too. Like, oh, he's so good. Like, he's not only is he cheap, he lets you like do this like kind of like fake deployment thing where you can he gets to redeploy 3 units or send them into reserves if he wants to, right? So you pick 3 Phobos infantry units.
They have to be Phobos?
They have to be Phobos units.
Okay.
They gotta be Phobos units.
Phobos units. They gotta be Phobos units. They have to be Phobos.
Okay.
Right, but you get to redeploy them. So you can put a bunch of units on the line that have like scout moves, freak your opponent out a little bit, right? You could infiltrate squads like kind of like right on the line, pressure one side to make your opponent like either wheel to the other side of the board, and if that's the case, leave them there, right? If they commit to try and kill them, be like, whoop, you're over here now, right? Like
sort of like a fake out.
Yeah, it's a fake out.
It's actually very fitting that Phobos units would kind of be like, distracting and then gone.
Exactly.
It might influence your opponent's deployment, which is pretty cool.
And speaking of that, the Vanguard detachment is where these live.
Right. This is the Raven Guard, sort of Raven Guard detachment.
And it's because they have 2 stratagems that work so well with them. Not only is there an inherent, like a built-in benefit, if you're outside of like 12 inches, you're -1 to hit them and they have cover. Right? So that's the Raven Guard, Vanguard kind of ability.
Yep.
This is so good because the snipers want to be that far away anyways. If you're holding an objective in the back with a unit, you want to be that far away anyways. So it gives them that extra durability, like you were saying at the beginning of the video, that they don't have. But the 2 strats help them so much. So like the first one, guerrilla tactics. You get to pick 1 Adeptus Astartes unit and then pick it up and put it into strategic reserves. Or you can pick 2 scout units or Phobos units. So you can like deep strike a set of Reavers, 2 of them. They can do something, and then at the end of your opponent's next turn, I pick them both back up, and into deep strike they go again, and back down they come.
This also allows like your infiltrators that are hiding in the back on turn 3 to affect the game in a different way.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you go, oh, we're going to hide all game. And that could be your game plan. But now on turn 3, you go, my opponent doesn't have any deep strikes, doesn't have any up and down.
Yeah.
You go, I'm just going to throw these guys somewhere and complete an action.
Yeah.
And not only were they not guarding your home objective, they just scored you some points for secondaries. That's actually really cool. And it's 2 Phobos units or 1 infantry.
Yes.
So you could pull something off the table that isn't Phobos and still get the benefit of that strategy.
You totally could. I'm not saying that your whole army needs to be Phobos.
Right.
But having a good chunk of it be Phobos in a Vanguard detachment is actually really good, because the second strat, this one here is called Calculated Feint, and what it does is you spend a CP right after a unit of yours has been charged, and then they get to move D6 inches. Except for if it is a scout squad or a Phobos squad, it automatically moves the 6 inches.
Is it when they're declared as the target of a charge?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is some stipulations on that. Let's say, hypothetically, you're like 9 inches away. Your opponent declares the charge. You do the 6-inch move thing, and then you back out 13 inches away. They get to re-target. So you've got 2 units of dudes, and they charge the first unit, so unit A. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to take my 6-inch move, and I'm going to move just slightly behind unit B and touch all their bases. It is now an illegal charge, because they've charged 1 unit, and you intermingle all your bases with unit B, and they can't get within 1 inch of unit B. And you've just made an illegal charge, and so they stay put.
Oh, that is awful.
Isn't that horrible? It's horrible. Like,
that is an awful tactic. If you ever do that to me, I will punish you in one way.
You'll be mad, but that's exactly how that works.
Yeah.
And like, because you've already declared the charge, and the only stipulation on retargeting is if they're now further away than the 12 inches.
Okay.
So you can't retarget. And so the rules kind of like grind to a lock there. And you're like, well, but what I would never do is I would never do that to somebody without telling them that that's a possible rules interaction.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those gotcha.
That's gotcha to the max. Like,
here's what I can do, right? This is, before we shake hands, here's what I can do.
Yeah, just let me know.
This.
Don't forget, if you're going to charge both.
Yes.
Because that's right. But then the same thing happens because you go, charge both. I move this way. Now you can't. Let's say you have a 7-inch charge. I could make it a 13-inch charge, but I'm not. I'm going to make it a 12-inch charge. Yeah. You don't have to go the full 6. Yeah. I make it a 12. Please roll your boxcars.
Yeah, roll an 11.
Roll an 11.
Thank you all for listening to this little conversation about Phobos Marines, maybe trying to bring them out of the darkness and into the light. Please like and subscribe. This has been Space Marine Steve.
And this is my good friend Ian. Have a good day.